The first one today is this. It's the Arrows' first hit. Now, the Arrows are a very interesting band, in the sense that I'm sure there's a lot of people there sitting there thinking, weren't they a teeny bop band who had a kids TV series in the mid-70s? Yes, they were. They took over the ITV slot vacated by Mark Bolan in 1975, I think it was, when Mark Bolan's series finished. They'd already had a couple of hit singles, and they were quite popular with the sort of like young teenage girls, and the record label they were on, RAK, which I'm pretty sure was Mickey Most, wasn't it, managed to get them into this slot to take over the slot that had been left by the Mark Bolan TV show when that stopped. So I'm not sure they were all that keen on it, to be honest, because I think they were taking themselves seriously as a proper sort of rock band in the sort of cross between the sort of like that sort of glam rock pop crossover that was coming in the 70s. They're serious musicians in their own right. Now, Alan Merrill, the lead singer and the main man in the band, I suppose you'd say, is this chap here. Now, he wrote All of Rock and Roll, which of course became a hit for Joan Jett, but he's recorded it first. They had a couple of other singles, but when the TV programme was on, they didn't release any albums, so this didn't come out until after that, or towards the end of it. And there are no hit singles on this album at all. It's amazing, really. And it's not really what you'd expect from that sort of TV programme. The opening track, Once Upon a Time, is absolutely wonderful. It's a piano with a really deep baritone voice of Alan Merrill. If it was somebody like, I don't know, David Coverdale or somebody singing it, you'd be thinking, wow, what a great song that is. But it just seems to be that everybody's probably got that memory in their head of them being on a kids' TV show at 4 o'clock in the afternoon or whenever it was, and not taking them seriously. But this is a good album. There's some great tracks on here. Boogie's Band in Town's a great old sort of rocker, and it's great. Now, they didn't make another album. They didn't put any of the hit singles on this album, and it's almost like they're sort of fighting against what they were made to be, or what, but I don't think they lasted much longer after the TV series finished. Alan Merrill went on to have a massive career in Japan, where he was like a singer-songwriter type person, and he was also in a band called Runner, who are going to feature later on in this series, because they only made one album, and that was a much more sort of straight-up rocky affair. Now, I'm pretty sure as well that there's a CD box set of these that's been put out by probably somebody like Cherry Red or one of those type people. When they've got the album, they've got the singles, they've probably got some outtakes, they've got some other bits and pieces, and they've put it in a CD box set. I don't know if it's 2 CDs or 3 CDs or what. I haven't got it. I haven't heard it. But this album is pretty good. I'm pretty sure that will be covered on it. That may well be the easiest way to get hold of it and to give them a little bit more of a go. But if you see them around, don't just dismiss them. You see them in the sort of record stores and the record fairs and things, and then you see it and it's not too expensive. Don't dismiss it as not being very important because it's a teeny bopper album. It isn't. It's quite good. It's got some good little bits and pieces. There are a couple of tracks on there that sort of like remind me of a slightly poppier Free. It's well worth having. One other thing that's interesting as well is I don't remember buying this, but I do remember my sister having a copy of it. So I wonder if somehow it's got mixed up in my record collection somehow, and that's how I ended up with it. And I found out years later who it was, because I certainly didn't know at the time that I was going to be quite a fan of Alan Merrill's when he was in a band called Runner. So there you go. That's the Arrows, the first one out of the cabinet, the only album I've got by this particular band, and it couldn't be anything other than the only album I've got by them, because they only made one. Next up is this, Alabama. Now this is country. It's country sort of, it's country pop really. It's a bit too country for me. I think I probably saw the cover. You can see the price. It was £1. So it was obviously at a record fair somewhere, and I thought that looks interesting. They've got beards and sunglasses and hats. They might be like yacht rock type stuff. They might be like a poor man's Eagles or something. I don't know. Got it home, listened to it way back when. I'm talking way back in the sort of it would have been in the 80s, I would have thought. So £1 was probably worth £1 then. And I don't think I could have been that impressed because I didn't buy any more. And then, of course, years later, we get moving your stuff around. Every now and again, you're going through your stuff, you think, I wonder if that's better now than I thought it was. I put it on today, and I must admit, the first track, the closer you get, is really good. It sort of reminded me a little bit of Jonathan Edwards' later type stuff. But then, towards the end of the first side, it just got just that little bit too straight up country for me, and I thought, I'm not 100% sure. So I don't think I'll be exploring Alabama any further. They've made a lot of albums, but if there's anybody out there who thinks I should, tell me where to go, because this, I don't hate it, but it isn't an album I would put on very often. If somebody came and said, wow, you got any Alabama? I'll go, well, yeah, I've got this, and we'll put it on, and I'll quite happily listen to it, but it's not the sort of thing that I'm going to be thinking, let's put Alabama on. But there you go. If it is something I should be listening to a bit more, somebody come and let me know, because I know I've got quite a lot of sort of country and country tinge stuff, probably more down the sort of like bluegrass or Americana or alt country type stuff rather than straight up country. But anybody that does watch this channel who is into all that sort of stuff, knows anything about these, let me know. I know they've made a lot of albums. This is the only one I've got. Possibly going to remain that way. Next up is this from 1983. It's Alcatrazz, No Parole from Rock and Roll. It was Graham Bonnet, of course, after he'd left Rainbow, he'd done that line-up album, which was good. Now, me and Graham Bonnet have got a sort of a, well, I say we've got a sort of, he doesn't know I exist, but sometimes I think Graham Bonnet is great. I think his singing on the Rainbow Down to Earth album was great, fitted those songs perfectly. I think on his line-up album, he was brilliant. I think on his first solo album as well, the one I call a White Album with the sort of pencil drawing looking like James Dean on the front, brilliant on that. There was one in between those two, which I think was, I spoke about it a while ago because I didn't know it existed, and I picked it up. I think it's called, I can't remember what it's called. I'm trying to flash it up across the bottom. But I wasn't overly keen on that one. And then some of his other stuff, some of his other solo stuff has been really good. And some of it, sometimes it just grates and gets a bit shouty. And I don't know whether anybody else thinks that as well, but just sometimes. Now, I had two problems with this when it came out. One was it's 1983, right? And 1983, I'm only 19. I've only recently got into this. I've been into it for about 3 or 4 years, so I'm an expert, aren't I? I'm a 19-year-old no one. I know everything. Richie Blackmore's still God in my eyes. And this Yngwie Turfstain, or whatever his name was, turns up, and he's claiming I'm better than Richie Blackmore. And I don't know whether he really did say that, but that's the sort of things that were getting quoted in the press. So I'd already got this sort of thing. Well, who does this little upstart think he is? You listen to him, and at the time you thought, he's just copying Richie Blackmore. He's just copying Richie Blackmore. There are some tracks on this where you can actually hear bits of Richie Blackmore's stuff that he's pinched. You listen to the track Jet to Jet and find out which track of Down to Earth it reminds you of. Definitely got some bits out of that in there. So I came into it not really giving it that much of a chance because I was thinking, I don't think it's going to be any because he's just going to be a Richie Blackmore copycat. And I was still whatever with Graham Bonnet because he'd sort of like left Rainbow and whatever and all that. Anyway, the problem was for me, there were one or two of those tracks on there where Graham Bonnet's vocals, they just get a little bit too far away from the music for me. And they sound a little bit wailing out of tune. To me, I know a lot of other people think that this album is wonderful. At one point, and a long time ago it was, I said this is probably one of the worst albums I'd ever heard. I have got to be honest and say that I played it today to do this video. So I can't really be doing these videos if I haven't heard stuff for ages. And I've probably played this once or twice in the last 30 or 40 years. I played it today, and because I'm now listening to it through an old man's ears rather than a young upstart kid's ears, yes, it does sound like Richie Blackmore. But now I can appreciate the fact that the bloke thought Richie Blackmore was brilliant and wanted to play in the same style as him, and it was it wasn't a bad thing. And it's actually quite good. And yes, there are still one or two tracks on there where when the singing's going, I'm sort of like cringing, going, oh crikey. But there are also some others where I'm thinking, actually, these are pretty good. So I've completely changed my opinion on this album today. I did say, didn't I, in the last episode, that don't expect to see me coming rubbish in anything, because it's going to be, it's not going to happen, because anything that I don't like I've got rid of. And then I sort of got these out and I thought, oh crikey, Alcatrazz, I really don't like that, do I? But something must have told me, don't get rid of it. It's a connection to Deep Purple. It's a good album. There's a couple of tracks on it, like I say, that are pretty naff. Jet to Jet is one of those ones that is, I think, one of the ones where the vocals get a bit dodgy, but instrumentally, it's probably quite good, apart from the fact that there's a lot of pinching from Ritchie Blackmore in that track, if you like. But it's a good track. Listening to it through ears that are not being sort of fiercely sort of loyal to Ritchie Blackmore, and don't you dare go copying my hero. But there you go. Alcatrazz, an album which I thought was pretty, not brilliant, probably for 40 odd years. I bought it the day it came out as well, because obviously it was at those times, it was like sort of everything that was connected, you bought it. I even got some 12-inch singles, I think, knocking about, and I completely changed my opinion of it today. So yeah, if you see it around, get it. It's good. Alcatrazz, no parole from rock and roll. This next one is interesting as well. Ambrosia. Now, Ambrosia, or a band who'd been around in the sort of mid-70s and made a few albums and done okay. This was their 1982 album. It ended up being their last one for a while, because it didn't go down very well at all. Now, I've not heard any of the others, so I don't know what they're like. But this is actually good. It's quite proggy in places, and it's got some sort of good hard rock bits, some good guitar. The singer in places sometimes sounds like Robert Plant, to me anyway. It's good. I was surprised again when I played it today, because I didn't buy this one all that long ago, and I didn't know what it was, but I think it was just cheap. I was the price to get on the front. I thought I'd give that a go. The cover looks interesting. I actually thought that said Toad Island. I thought that was a toad playing the guitar. I don't know why I would have thought that was a toad. It doesn't look anything like a toad when you look at it closely, does it? And I don't know why it would make me buy it, because I thought it was called Toad Island, but it's actually called Rhode Island. So there you go. But it's good. It is really, really good. Didn't go down very well, as I say, this album. They split up, but I think they reformed a few years later and made a few other albums as well. It's well worth tracking down, this Ambrosia. And again, if I see any of their other albums around, I might well pick them up. So if you're a fan of Ambrosia, and you know anything about them, give me a shout which ones would be the ones to go for. But yeah, Ambrosia, another band who I've only got one album by. 2 to go, and these two have got a bit of personal story to them a little bit as well. One of them I've spoken about before, so anybody who was around in the crushed custard days may already know a little bit about this one, and it's this. It's Ashman Reynolds, Stop Off, and this is a white label promo version. I'm sure quite a lot of people know Polydor normally have that red label, don't they? Well, when they do their promo stuff, they always use a white label. So it's the white label on this one rather than red one. So it's a promo, and also mine is an American one, and it's got this bit of blurb in there which came with it for the people to read out on the radio and all that sort of thing. You can go back through my past videos. There is one where I read that out, because it is actually quite amusing. I won't do it again. So if you want to hear about that, go back and listen to that one. It's quite interesting. But the thing that is interesting about this is I discovered this during lockdown. Now, when I say I discovered it during lockdown, there was a time during lockdown when people were trying to find things to do and all sorts of stuff. People were getting into hobbies they hadn't got into for years, and that's when a lot of people got their records back out again. At some point during that time, but somebody had got a load of videos of old grey whistle test episodes, and they were obviously proper ones, because the bit in the beginning, with the clock going 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, action, all that stuff. And one of the episodes that they put up had got these on, Ashman Reynolds. And the thing that made it stick in my head was it was at the time when in Britain we were having a bit of a power crisis, and there was constant power cuts all the time. And the track that they were trying to perform, every time they got about 3 notes in, the power went off. And so this, I don't know whether this was actually an episode that ever went out, or whether this was an episode that that didn't go out and eventually got edited or something. But they kept starting again, and it got quite funny. You could see them, and the band was sort of like finding it funny, and then maybe one or two of them might get a bit cheesed off with it all. But because I heard the song start about 3 or 4 times, I was determined to hear it all the way through. And when I did, I thought, it's good, I like this, brilliant. So anyway, I thought I'm going to try and track myself down a copy of this. But I also thought, when I was doing the talking about it, the lady who was a singer called Alcatrazz Ashman. Now, Alcatrazz is not a name that you hear every day of the week. And I thought, I'm sure I've heard her on something else. And I then found out that it was. She was in a band called Casablanca, who I've got on a two-sided record. Record's two-sided, aren't they? It's one of those BBC transcription discs and live concerts. And on the one side, it's got Snafu with Mickey Moody on it. And on the other side, it's got a band called Casablanca, who I'd never heard of. And she's the singer on it because they announced her name as being the singer. And that's where I remember it from. She's also in Ginger Baker's Air Force. Anyway, bizarrely, I sort of contacted this person, Mr. Alcatrazz Ashman. I don't know how or why I did that, but I did. I don't think she came. I think it's one of those things, on the sort of, how that social media stuff spies on you. And I think it came up as a suggestion. I thought, it can't be that same person. And I sent a message and it was. And then we got connected and she started sending me messages. And now, every year, because she lives in Australia now, she is the first person to wish me happy birthday every year because she's in Australia and my birthday comes sooner in Australia than it does here. So it's normally a race between her and my mate Doug, who I used to do horse racing commentating with. They're both in Australia. And they all normally come first and second, wishing me happy birthday. So anyway, that's the story behind it. The album is great. You'd think it was American, but it's not. They're British, but they've got a real sort of American sort of sound. There's some great tracks on this. On the back here, it's got suggested cuts. You'd play on the radio, Come Right In, Countryman, Long Long Road, and I Wish I Knew. They're not the ones I would play. I would actually be playing Work Out the Score and Take Off, which is almost like the title track. But yeah, they're my two favourites on there. But anyway, there you go. It's a great album, this Ashman Reynolds. It's the only album they made, so it's the reason it's the only one that I've got on there. As if they'd made any more, I'd be snapping them up. But this is the only one they made, I do believe. And there you go. Ashman Reynolds, Alcatrazz Ashman and Harry Reynolds. Great album from the mid-70s. British, but with a real American funky American country, bit of country rock thrown in there, funk and stuff. And it's a good album. Go out and find yourself a copy of it. It's really good. Ashman Reynolds, Stop Off. Now the last one. This is an interesting one. This is the only record I've got by this band. It's almost the only record they made, but they made a second album, but they changed their name slightly. I haven't got that. I've got this one. I bought it by accident. Got to be honest. I used to run antique fairs, and somebody said to me, "Oh, some records here. Do you want these?" I said, "Oh, what you got?" And I had a look at those, all sort of like pretty ordinary type stuff. And I thought, "There's not much good in there. There's a couple of albums in there that look interesting. A couple of albums I might want myself." So I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll have them." And I bought them off them for not a lot at all, and left them in the bag for about 4 years. This is how sort of how important they were. I was just like doing one of my stores as a favour because they probably weren't a very good day. Yeah, I'll buy your records off you and I'll pay them for them. I can't remember who it was now, to be honest. Otherwise, I'd probably do something about it. So anyway, this carrier bag was sort of like left for about 4 years because at that time I'd moved away from the places where I was running the antique fairs, and I'd got a room at my mum's house where I'd still got a lot of my stuff in. That was where I was running the antique fairs in the town where my mum lived. And I was coming back from where I was once a month to run this antique fair because I used to make a few quid doing it, and it was a good thing to do. And I used to come back and then obviously stay there the night before it was on and the night after it had finished, and then go back the next day. So I just left this bag of records, which I got back, and I just left it in that bedroom, which was at my mum's. Then a few years later, I was moving again, and I'd got room this time to pick all of my record collection, because my records at that time in my cabinets were at my mum's. I'd taken my CDs because they were smaller, I could take them, but my records just stayed there in the cabinets there, and they were safe, and they were fine, they were okay, and I knew where they were. When I used to go visit them, I used to sneak up and say hello to my records as well, you know what it's like. So anyway, and then got to a point where I could take the records with me as well. So when I was moving all the stuff out, I found this carrier bag, and I thought, what's in here? Oh, I remember I bought them from the antique fair, didn't I? And it was mostly stuff that weren't that good, and I very nearly just thought, forget it. I thought, I better have a look a couple of these because I don't know what they are. And one of them was this. And it's Andwellas Dream, Love and Poetry. And yes, before anybody says, oh blimey, it is the original UK pressing from 1969, and it is the most expensive record in my collection, according to Record Collector and Discogs, and it's currently going for about 1,500 quid. And this is in perfect nick, and I don't think it's ever been played more than 3 or 4 times. It's got one little crease on the bottom of the sleeve. I'll take the sleeve out. You can see it's got one little dink where it's all laminated. There it's down there. You can just see that little crease is there, and that is pretty much all it's got. I don't think it's got any other marks on it at all. There's no seam splits. It's not dirty. It's got the gold stereo thing stamped on the top. The vinyl is pristine. It's got no spindle marks or anything, and it's a top-notch copy. And I thought, blimey, what a good job I didn't just bin it. It just shows you, be careful. And I didn't know what this was, and I think probably this and another one, which I've since sold actually, because I played it and I didn't like it, and it was again a sought after record that somebody wanted, and I moved it on. I think it was that one and this one that made me sort of think, oh yeah, I'll have them, because I thought they looked interesting. The cover looked interesting, and it's a very strange cover, isn't it? But anyway, Andwellas Dream, it's a bit of a sort of psychedelic sort of folky masterpiece. It's been re-released now on vinyl, so if anybody wants to get hold of a copy of it just for the music, you can get it on CD and you can get it on vinyl as well. But the originals are getting very hard to come by. I had a quick look on Discogs today, and it's suggested when I put it in as, because I think if you've got something and it's brand new, it's mint. If it's not brand new, but it's pretty much perfect, then you can get away with near mint. But that's about it. Anything else has got to be worse. Now, I think this is, honestly do think it's close to a near mint record. The sleeve, because it's got that crease in it, I can only really class that as very good plus, I think. But really, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, it's pretty good. Somebody's got one on there for $2,500, which he's claiming is near mint all the way through. There's one or two others got some up there for sort of 1,400 quid or whatever. Somebody bought just the cover for 120 quid or something the other week, so it was a pretty good buy in the end. I have actually played it, because I thought I better play it, make sure it plays okay. And it's actually quite good. It's really good. I'm not in a rush to get rid of it, because it's one of those things that it's like, is it with expensive records, are they gonna go down in value because all the people that want them end up dying and there's nobody left that wants them, or are they going to go up because younger people are going to get into it and they're going to want to find the originals? I don't know. But yeah, so there it is. If somebody comes along one day who's desperate for an original copy of it, I will let them have it. Or not let them have it, but you know what I mean. But in the meantime, it remains, surprisingly, the most valuable record in my collection, according to Discogs and the Record Collector, at around about 1,500 to 1,700 quid. So there you go. Andwellas Dream, Love and Poetry. And that's the 6 albums in the A's that I have got only one album by from those particular artists. So one or two of those artists that we've mentioned are going to pop up in other bands, maybe not necessarily in this series, although Alan Merrill definitely is with Runner, because they again only made one album, and I'm pretty sure Leaky Ashman might pop up, because I'm pretty sure Casablanca only made one album, as well. And we'll find out about that one sooner than we find out about Alan Merrill, because C comes before R, you see. Up there for thinking, down there for dancing. See you next time.